Picture this. You're sitting at your desk on a random Wednesday afternoon, and a thought crosses your mind. I really should start investing. And then, almost immediately, a second thought follows. But not yet. Maybe next year, once I pay off this card, once I build up a bigger savings cushion, once things feel a little more stable. So you close the tab, go back to your day, and tell yourself you'll get to it soon. And here's the thing. That moment happens to millions of people every single year. It doesn't feel like a decision. It feels like a reasonable delay. But what most people don't realize is that waiting 1 year to invest isn't neutral. It has a price tag. And that price tag is a lot higher than most people expect.
My name is Jack, and I spend way too much time thinking about the cost of doing nothing with money. If you're someone who keeps putting off investing for later, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. All right, let's start with something that sounds simple, but most people never actually calculate. Every year you wait to invest is not just a year of missed growth, it's a year of missed compounding. And those are two very different things. Here's what I mean. Let's look at two people. Same age, same income, same amount available to invest. Person A starts investing $300 per month today. Person B decides to wait just 1 year before starting the exact same $300 per month. Both invest until they're 65. Both earn an average 8% annual return. Person A ends up with roughly $935,000. Person B ends up with roughly $861,000. That 1 year of waiting cost person B around $74,000. Not because they invested less money. The actual cash difference is only $3,600. The other $70,000 is pure lost compounding. That's the hidden cost, and most people have no idea that gap is that large. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but that's over decades. What if I'm not that far from retirement? Fair point. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because the cost of waiting doesn't shrink when you're younger. It actually accelerates. Let's say you're 28 years old. You wait just 3 years to start investing instead of 1. Same $300 per month, same 8% return. That 3-year delay doesn't cost you $74,000 times 3. It costs you closer to $250,000. Because each year you delay, you're not just losing that year's growth, you're losing all the future compounding that year would have triggered. This is what most people fundamentally misunderstand about time and money. Delay isn't linear, it's exponential. So why do people keep waiting? Because the brain is wired to demand certainty before acting. And investing, especially for beginners, feels deeply uncertain. Markets go up and down, headlines are dramatic. The right account, the right amount, the right moment, it all feels like something you need to figure out completely before you start. Psychologists call this the perfection trap, the belief that conditions need to be ideal before you take action. But here's the thing about ideal conditions with investing. They never fully arrive. There's always a reason to wait a little longer, more debt to clear, a bigger cushion to build, a calmer market to wait for. And while you're waiting, compounding doesn't pause. It just works for someone else. There's another layer to this worth understanding, the fear of loss. Research in behavioral economics consistently shows that people feel the pain of a financial loss roughly twice as strongly as the pleasure of an equivalent gain. So when markets drop, even temporarily, it feels dangerous to start. Your brain reads uncertainty as threat, and threat triggers delay. But here's what that same research shows. Long-term investors who start during volatile periods and stay consistent often end up in a stronger position than those who waited for stability. Because lower prices early on mean more shares purchased, which means stronger returns when markets recover. Waiting for the right moment often means missing the best ones. So what actually breaks the waiting loop? One shift. separating the decision to invest from the decision of how much to invest. Most people treat these as the same decision. They think they need to figure out the full amount, the full strategy, the full plan before they begin. But those are two separate choices. The first choice, starting, is the one that matters most. The second choice, how much, can be adjusted later.
Here's a practical example. Let's say right now you can only commit $50 per month. That's not a life-changing number on its own. But $50 per month invested at 8% for 30 years grows to around $75,000. More importantly, starting with $50 builds the habit. And habits are what eventually become $200 per month, then $500, then more. The amount scales. The habit is what starts it. For most people, the single most valuable financial move isn't finding the perfect investment. It's closing the gap between knowing you should invest and actually doing it. Because here's the truth that every delayed investor eventually faces. The cost of waiting doesn't show up today. It shows up 15 years from now when you do the math and realize what that 1 year or 3 years or 5 years actually cost you. And by then, you can't buy that time back.
The good news is that wherever you are right now, starting today is still better than starting next year. Always, without exception. Because time in the market is the one variable you actually control right now, and the one most people give away without realizing it. If this video made the cost of waiting feel real for you, hit the subscribe button. And I'm curious about something. What's the main reason you've been putting off investing? Let me know in the comments, because sometimes just naming it is the first step toward changing it.